Hey everyone, welcome back to the Checkered Sky channel where we dive into true crime stories. Today, we're diving into 5 real-life true crime cases, each grabbing the attention of the public and media. While investigating these 5 cases, detectives faced challenges. However, evidence, witness statements, and in some cases, surveillance footage ultimately helped uncover the truth. Today, we will look at a case that took place in Minnesota back in 2013. 30-year-old Kira Steger was employed as a store clerk at a clothing store located in the Mall of America. She was passionate about her job and never skipped a shift. So when on February 23, 2013, she didn't come to work, her co-workers got worried. They tried to get in touch with Kira, but she didn't return their calls or text messages, and the police were soon informed that she was missing. Kira K. Steger was born November 19, 1982 in Des Plaines, Illinois. She was the daughter of Marcy and Jay Steger, who described her as a lively, dedicated, and sweet daughter. Kira was employed at the Mall of America and worked for 2 stores there, Wet Seal and most recently, Delia's. Her co-workers were not only great friends, but Kira considered them part of her family. Kira possessed a unique talent for recognizing people's strengths that they themselves didn't notice. She planned and hoped for a promising future, which looked bright and serene. Sadly, all her dreams ended in an instant when Kira mysteriously vanished. On Thursday, February 21, 2013, Kira had a shift at work. Her co-workers said she had been feeling good and planned to go to a nice restaurant with her husband after the store closed. Kira and Jeffrey Trevino got acquainted 3 years ago. They immediately ignited a spark between them and started a romantic relationship, which ultimately resulted in a wedding. Generally, Kira and Jeffrey seemed to be a happy and stable married couple. There might have been occasional disagreements between them, but it all was kept within their own circle. Neither relatives, friends, nor co-workers were aware of them at the very least. 2 days later, on Saturday, February 23rd, when Kira did not come to work, her co-workers were concerned because such behavior was not typical of her. She was on time, strict with herself and others, never tolerated being late, and adhered to her schedule. Having failed to reach Kira, her co-workers called Jeffrey, but he had no idea where his wife had gone. As per Jeffrey, Kira had left the house the previous morning and had not been back since. It wasn't really worrying to him because Kira had a tendency to occasionally disappear for a day or two. She would stay the night at a friend's house or go to a relative's place unannounced. One thing that might have caused worry was the bad weather that day because it had been snowing heavily. Jeffrey suggested that maybe there was something that could have happened to her on the way. Perhaps her car got stuck and her cell phone battery ran out of power. On the same day, having received no news from his wife, Jeffrey filed a missing persons report and got in touch with Kira's family. Her family members were surprised by the mysterious disappearance of their loved one, and it was a big blow to them. Having received a missing persons report for Kira Steger, detectives immediately got to work. As it is common in such cases, the investigation started with questioning the spouse and searching the nearest surroundings. This was no exception. Detectives went to Jeffrey's residence to talk to him. Jeffrey informed detectives that on Thursday, he and Kira were looking to have some time together. They had dinner, conversed, played bowling, and eventually left the mall. By Jeffrey's account, he and Kira headed home straight away as Kira intended to watch a movie. Jeffrey also told detectives that his wife left their house the next day, which was a Friday, around 8:30 a.m. An event was scheduled at work, and her mandatory presence was required. She was conducting herself as usual, and he didn't see anything strange. Jeffrey found it nothing out of the ordinary that Kira would disappear from time to time, although he didn't even know where she was or who she was spending time with. They had been having relationship problems for a few months, said Jeffrey. However, he didn't see it as serious or alarming, considering it to be just minor arguments that occur in all families. The detectives started asking Jeffrey who Kira might be staying with, asking if she might have had a lover. The man refused this suggestion, as he had personally asked Kira about this and got a negative response. In Jeffrey's words, He really loves his wife and trusts her. The investigators passed on all the information they managed to collect about Kira and her car to the on-duty patrols. The detectives went to the Mall of America themselves in order to confirm the credibility of Jeffrey's words and possibly pick up some clues. Mall of America is among the biggest shopping malls worldwide. It is situated in Bloomington. It features 520 stores, theme parks, an oceanarium, movie theaters, a golf course, and much more. Therefore, it's not surprising that the mall is fitted with numerous security cameras. Knowing at what time Kira had left work on February 21st, the detectives looked into that moment. The footage showed nothing out of the ordinary. Jeffrey's account held true. He met Kira after work and they hung out at the mall for a while, then went down to the parking lot and drove away. There were no arguments between them, and the evening appeared to have gone fine. Nothing is as bad as just waiting without any knowledge of what's going on. And with each successive day, the anxiety for Kira's life was getting progressively worse. Lacking any news from her and having grown tired of waiting, Kira's family traveled to Bloomington in an effort to try to help with the investigation. They had flyers printed with her pictures on them, posted them on poles, and distributed them to passers-by on the street. Their objective was to attract as much attention as possible to the search for Kira. They realized they could not simply stand by, but had to do everything they could to find their loved one. While Kira's family was distributing leaflets, the investigators continued their inquiry. When interviewing the couple's neighbors, officers noticed a surveillance camera installed on one neighbor's house. The camera rotated sideways, and in one of its angles, it captured Kira and Jeffrey's home. Thus, the investigators asked the homeowner to copy the camera footage for them, as they hoped to uncover some clues from it. In the meantime, a cell phone company's records arrived and provided investigators with a new lead. According to Kira's phone records, she had another man in her life besides Jeffrey. He turned out to be Ryan Wendt, who was the manager of the same store chain in one of which she was employed. They had a very intense and lengthy relationship and corresponded frequently. Police were able to ascertain that Ryan Wendt was out of state, and while a search for Kira was ongoing, Ryan was traveling in his car towards Colorado. This man was of major relevance to the investigation, because in addition to having a romantic relationship with Kira, he also moved out of state the same time she disappeared. Maybe it was a mere coincidence and nothing more, or perhaps things were completely different and his escape hides something behind it. It is the investigators who would have to find the answer to that question. Regardless, the detectives managed to reach Ryan, and he consented to appear for questioning in Colorado, where he was asked many questions. He stated that he last contacted Kira while he was driving his car across South Dakota and exchanged texts with her. These text messages had been sent shortly before Kira's disappearance. Upon reviewing the timing of the text messages, detectives determined that Kira had been in contact with her new lover just as she was dining with her husband. It was abundantly clear from the correspondence that Kira was increasingly becoming distant from Jeffrey. The investigators examined Ryan's phone to determine his location with respect to the cell towers and reviewed his credit card statements. It appeared he was really out of state that particular evening and had no way of being connected to Kira's disappearance. He was released and dropped from the list of suspects on that basis. The timestamp of the messages revealed that Kira was still texting with Ryan even when she arrived home with her husband. However, their communication ended after 11:44 p.m., and since then, Kira's phone has been inactive. Meanwhile, a different team of investigators was getting ready to examine the video footage from the surveillance camera installed on Kira's neighbor's residence. This camera captured much of the street, sweeping left and right. However, it was turning much too quickly, and that made observation difficult since if the investigators spotted something suspicious, the camera would rotate to the other side in an instant. Jeffrey and Kira's house was seen only for a brief few seconds as the camera shifted to the right. Jeffrey stated that after eating dinner and bowling, he and Kira went home, watched a movie, and retired to bed. However, when investigators reviewed the video footage, they noticed that right after 2 a.m., Kira's car reversed into the yard. Because of the low quality of the footage and the constant motion of the camera from side to side, it was hard to tell precisely what was happening on screen at that time, but the car soon moved away from their house. Jeffrey attributed the night drive to the fact that Kira had told him to pump gas in her car prior to her commute tomorrow, so he went to the gas station. Surprisingly enough, his story was true. He was really seen at the gas station at around 3:30 at dawn. However, the detectives discovered that after leaving the gas station, he didn't return home, but for some reason made his way towards the highway. It is unclear where he headed next. The neighbor's camera did not record him coming home, but it could have been a mere coincidence as it was rotating constantly. Thus, it is possible, theoretically, that Jeffrey could have gotten back home later in the day when the camera was facing the other direction. When investigators looked at the footage further, they observed that Kira's Chevrolet drove away at 9:21 a.m. Disappointingly, there was no way to see who was at the wheel. A missing person report was filed with police on Saturday, February 23rd, and the police department got a call on Monday, February 25th, to report the finding of a suspicious vehicle. Near the shopping center where Kira was employed, there are two multi-story parking lots. Security guards noticed that a certain car had been parked there for several days and requested a tow truck. The tow truck driver proceeded to examine the car before picking it up and spotted suspicious-looking red smudges on the trunk lid, then called the police. That vehicle turned out to be Kira's white Chevy. There wasn't that much blood, just a few small stains, but it was there, and that was a very bad sign. Kira's purse, which was recovered from her dumped car, had divorce court forms that looked like they had been downloaded from the internet. Additionally, a small dark item lying in the snow behind the car caught the investigators' attention. When they got closer, they saw a rolled-up trunk mat that had dark-colored stains on the reverse side. DNA testing determined that it was Kira Steger's blood. With regret, the investigators began to realize that Kira was most likely no longer alive. This horrible discovery was a severe shock to her family and friends. Their last hope of seeing Kira again was lost, but with this, myriad questions arose in their minds. How did she die? Did she suffer? And who could have resented her enough to have robbed her of her life? The absence of Kira's body compounded the matter, for it was much more difficult to endure the sorrow that had befallen them without it. The detective's top priority now was to identify the person who abandoned the vehicle in the parking lot. The car drove away from the house at 9:21 a.m. Approximately 20 minutes later, the mall's cameras captured it. There were no cameras in the lot where the car was discovered, but there was a camera directed at the path that led to the car. The camera was located near where Kira's car was located. After viewing the footage from that camera, the detectives noticed that a few minutes after the white Chevrolet drove into the parking lot, a man with a hood covering his head appeared in the footage. It was fairly cold, and it didn't seem odd that the man was in a hoodie, but the detectives wanted to track where he was headed. It was seen that the hooded man made it across the street and walked to a taxi stand where he had a brief conversation with one of the drivers, then got into the car and drove off. The police were able to determine which company the cabs parked in the parking lot of the shopping center belonged to. Based on the time of the hooded man's interaction with the driver, it was not difficult for the police to identify the license plate number of that particular vehicle. All of the cabs were outfitted with GPS tracking devices, which revealed that the hooded man concluded his trip a block away from Kira and Jeffrey's house and then got out of the car after paying cash. As it left the neighborhood, the cab was caught in the lens of the same camera that had partially filmed Kira and Jeffrey's home. After 2 minutes, a hooded man entered the frame. The low resolution of the footage made it difficult to see his face, but what was striking was the white logo on his hoodie. As the investigators kept viewing the footage, they saw the hooded man walk into the house where Kira and Jeffrey lived. Kira had been missing, which made it nearly certain that the hooded man was Jeffrey. After securing a search warrant, the law enforcement officers headed to the house. At first glance, it looked like an ordinary, unremarkable house, But that was only at first glance. Under closer examination, the criminalists started to find dark red stains in the bedroom of the spouses. There were a few stains on the wall beside the bed and around 100 of them on the mattress. It was apparent that the bedroom had recently been rearranged and cleaned. When the forensics team sprayed luminol, the floor carpet was practically glowing. It had a lot of bloodstains on it that could not be detected by the naked eye. These stains originated in the bedroom and extended into the other side of the house. Forensics confirmed that it was Kira's blood, and this further convinced investigators that she was no longer alive. Besides searching the inside of the house, police also examined Jeffrey's car. The car itself didn't have any blood in it, nor did they notice any evidence of a struggle, yet they still managed to find something of interest. A gas station receipt was found in Jeffrey's car, issued an hour and 40 minutes before Kira's car was left in the mall parking lot. Based on the receipt information, the purchase was made with Jeffrey's card. Detectives proceeded to that gas station to review the security footage. The footage captured Jeffrey filling up his car, then going inside and withdrawing cash from an ATM. This footage provided a glimpse of Jeffrey's face and showed that he had a logo on his jacket, in the chest area, that looked like the logo on the man from the earlier footage. On the basis of this recording and all evidence found in the house, 39-year-old Jeffrey Trevino was placed under arrest. He was brought to the station for questioning and was now the prime and only suspect. Immediately from the interrogation room, Jeffrey reached his attorney, who advised him to exercise his right to remain silent. The police had sufficient evidence to charge him, but the most compelling evidence of his guilt would be the body. No one had any doubt that Kira was dead. The police, together with Kira's family and some volunteers, spent months searching for her. In late March, as the snowdrifts started to clear, volunteers discovered a strange bag by the roadside at Keller Lake, a few miles from Trevino's house, and called the police. The bag contained a bloodied pillow, a shirt, and a bra. The forensics team linked the finding to Kira, as her DNA was detected on the items. The lake was still encrusted with ice, which hampered the search, but still divers surveyed the water body. Still, they found no remains in it. The area around the lake was searched multiple times using 4 search dogs trained to find bodies, but this too was fruitless. 2.5 months following Kira's disappearance, on May 8, 2013, the St. Paul Police Department got a disturbing call. The male caller told the operator that he had seen what appeared to be a dead body in the Mississippi River. What police officers recovered from the water did actually prove to be a body. There were no clothes on it. Dental records determined that it was the body of Kira Steger. She suffered severe blunt force trauma to her forehead and a fractured index finger on her left hand. Because of the degree of decomposition, the medical examiners were incapable of establishing an exact cause of death. Using the new evidence, investigators tried to reconstruct the timeline of events leading up to Kira's death and the events that followed. They speculated that when Kira and Jeffrey came home, he became aware or saw that she was texting someone else. Kira was unwilling to show the correspondence to her husband, at which point he forcefully snatched her phone away from her and broke her finger. After seeing the romantic correspondence, Jeffrey grew even more enraged and, in a fit of anger, took Kira's life and then tried to conceal evidence of the crime. He used her car to drive to the house, put the body in the trunk, then went to a gas station, and from there to the river, where he disposed of the body. He subsequently drove back home, dumping the bag containing Kira's pillow and clothes along the way. The next morning, he went to a gas station and took out cash from an ATM because he knew that after he left Kira's car in the mall's parking lot, he would have to pay for a cab, and it would be better to do so in cash. After disposing of Kira's car, Jeffrey went home and worked the rest of the day on cleaning the house. With his trickery, Jeffrey intended to convey the impression that Kira had driven away in her car by herself that morning and that she was perfectly fine. However, thanks to surveillance cameras, his plan failed. In October 2013, a jury convicted 39-year-old Jeffrey Trevino, concurring with the defense that his acts were not premeditated and that the crime was the outcome of a heated and sudden argument following the discovery of his wife's infidelity. Prior to the sentence being announced by the judge, Kira's family members made their statements. "This monster is a calculated criminal," said Kira Steger, Kira's sister. "He deserves no mercy." Kira's mother, Marcy, stated that Trevino certainly showed her daughter no mercy. "He dumped my daughter like a piece of trash into the nation's most polluted body of water," she said. Still, her father, Jay, said whatever the punishment, it will never make up for the pain Trevino has caused their family. "No matter how much time you give Mr. Trevino, it's not enough. Never enough," he said. In November 2013, Jeffrey Trevino was given a 27-and-a-half-year prison sentence. He will become eligible for parole in 2031. In this video, we'll discuss the events that occurred in 2021 in Georgia, USA. Mariam Abdulrab was returning home after a work shift at a bar. She reached her house but did not have time to enter it. What happened to her caused a great resonance in society. Unfortunately, Mariam became one of those whose death forced the authorities to realize that the laws against some categories of people weren't harsh enough. Georgia passed Mariam's law even before the criminal appeared in court, and they closed this case just a few days ago. Mariam Abdulrab was a 27-year-old bartender who worked at the Reverie VR bar in Midtown Atlanta. Her colleagues and regulars loved her very much. Mariam was an outgoing person who could always keep up a conversation. That's how her best friend Alicia Kim described her. "She is the most caring person in the world. She would literally give you the shirt off her back. She was a daughter, a younger and older sister, a girlfriend, our best friend. She was in the service industry, so she knew how waiters and bartenders live off tips too, so she's always been so generous with her own earnings." Mariam lived with her boyfriend, Jerry Antoine, in Chosewood Park, Atlanta. On August 13, 2021, she finished her night shift at about 5 a.m. and then drove home. She had to drive about 5 miles, and it was a route she knew well. Unfortunately, everything went wrong this time. When Mariam reached her house, another car pulled up behind her. She didn't have time to go inside. Someone abducted her in front of her boyfriend. Let's listen to Jerry Antoine's conversation with the 911 operator released by the Atlanta Police Department.
Hello, hey, I'm at 501 Burroughs Street, and my girlfriend just got out of the car, and somebody just came and just kidnapped her and just left.
Did they kidnap her and left?
Somebody just left with my girlfriend.
Where are you located?
Oh my! I'm at 501 Burroughs. 501 Burroughs Street.
Southeast?
Yeah. They just left. He was in like a Ford Escort looking type of car.
What kind of car was he in? You said a Ford Escort. What color?
It was like a Jeep car. Like a Jeep.
So what? How did was she snatched? Was she?
Bro, she just pulled up, and then I heard somebody here earlier. Bro. Oh my God, my car is blocked in. What the? Oh my God. Bro.
Sir.
Bro.
Sir, I need you to stay with me for a second.
Bro, what the?
Sir, can you hear me? Or you?
Oh my God. Bro, I just watched her get kidnapped from in front of my house. What the? Oh
what is
my God. My name is Jerry Antoine.
Jerry,
oh.
What is
your 404-797-0374.
Was she forced into the car? Did she get in the car or did she walk into the car?
Yes, I watched it all. I watched everything. I watched everything. He had a gun to her. I watched everything.
It was a
I
black
watched
SUV.
everything.
Hold on, Jerry. Hold on.
He had on a security shirt. Oh my God.
Jerry, I need you to listen to me very carefully. I need you to calm down as best you can. And I have a series of questions that I need to ask you. I need you to answer.
Yes.
Okay? I need you to answer them to the best of your ability. You understand me?
Yeah.
All right. You said that you saw your girlfriend get kidnapped by the driver of a black SUV-style vehicle. Is that correct?
Yes. It looked like a Ford Escape kind of car, like a small SUV. Because she just called me 5 minutes ago, and she said, well, I'm about to be here. And I heard her car pull up.
Hold on, Jerry.
And I hear a commotion outside.
Hold on, Jerry. Hold on, Jerry. Hold on. So she had a gun pointed to her?
Yes, I watched it all through my window in my front yard. He had a gun to her, and he forced her into a car. He had on a security shirt. What the
All right, Jay. Where are you located? Are you in an apartment complex?
No, it's 501 Burrow Street, Southeast.
So this is a house?
It's a house.
Okay, all right.
Yes.
All right.
All right.
So
and I have her location in my phone. I'm going to check it, like, period. I can check it.
So you're tracking her location from your phone, is that correct?
I'm loading it up right now. I don't know if she dropped it or not. I think it's in her car. I think she dropped it.
All right, Jerry. Well, we'll get a unit out there to you shortly, okay? We'll get a unit out there to you shortly, okay, Jerry?
Man, what the?
All right, Jerry. Jerry,
Yo.
Jerry, we'll get a unit out there to you soon as we can, okay?
Shortly after that call to 911, the police officers crowded the area where someone abducted Mariam. The authorities tried to take all necessary measures to solve this case because the chances of finding the girl decreased with every new minute. No one knew the criminal's motive or what they were up to. As it relates to motive and things like that, I don't know, Deputy Chief Charles Hampton Jr. told reporters right after the incident. Mariam's best friend, Alicia Kim, wrote these words on one of her social network pages. "My best friend got kidnapped last night at her home in Grant Park. She's a bartender at Reverie and was a bartender at Mother and Church. If you've met her, you know she's an incredible human being. After her shift, she stopped by a gas station and someone followed her home, and as she was walking up to her door, she was taken. Please, if you saw her last night and have any videos, send them my way. If you see her in any vehicle, call the authorities." Detectives tried to identify the abductor. One of the versions was that Mariam was a random victim whom the perpetrator first saw at a gas station. Investigators were able to find CCTV footage that captured the moment of the abduction. The video shows Mariam reaching her house and getting out of the car. A moment later, another vehicle approached the house. The driver gets out, grabs Mariam, and leads her to the car. And then the car disappears, backing away. Everything happened in a matter of seconds, and it's terrifying. Mariam was practically at the door of her house when someone abducted her in such cold blood. While the police were talking to Mariam's boyfriend, 911 received 2 more phone calls from the same area. The woman told the operator that she heard at least 4 loud bangs, which she believed were gunshots. About 5 hours after Mariam's abduction, another man called 911 and provided crucial information. Let's listen to the recording of this call.
Atlanta 911 operator 7906. What's the address to your emergency?
I am actually at the corner of Lakewood Avenue Southeast and Terrace Way Southeast. I am walking in my
Okay, that's
neighborhood.
Lakewood Avenue, Southeast and Terrace Way. Southeast, you need
Correct.
police, fire, or an ambulance.
I think I may need both police and ambulance. I'm walking by. I see a woman face down
Okay, let me get you
near an
connected with
abandoned
EMS.
home.
Let me get you connected with EMS. Hold for one moment, sir. Don't hang up.
Oh, Lord. Hello?
EMS, what's the address of your emergency?
Atlanta with a transfer. Call advise Lakewood Avenue, Southeast and Terrace Way, Southeast.
There's like an abandoned home at the corner. I don't know the exact address of it, but it's when you turn onto Terrace off of Lakewood Avenue, on the right side, if you're coming from, I guess, the interstate, it's near like an Exxon gas station, and right across the street from, I think, the Boys and Girls Club.
Okay, and you said the house is across the street from the Boys and Girls Club, is that correct?
Yes, ma'am. It's abandoned. It's boarded up.
Okay, what's your name?
My name is Robert Dixon, Dixon.
Okay. Robert, tell me exactly what happened.
I'm walking my dog in the neighborhood. I actually live not too far from here off of Olive Street. And, Lord Jesus, I see a Caucasian woman face down near a mailbox. She is not moving. Looks lifeless. She has on black pants, some white checkers, tennis shoes, white tube socks, and what appears to be like a gray tank top.
Okay, and are you with the patient now?
I'm near her. I have not touched her.
Okay. And how old is she?
I don't know. She might be like a teenager or early 20s. I can't. Her face is obscured by like weeds, and that's what makes me think she's deceased.
Okay. Is she awake?
No, not awake at all. I think
is she breathing?
I have not gotten that close to know.
Okay. Atlanta, I'm 924. Can we go ahead and start fire and PD?
For nature unknown?
Yes.
Okay, I'm 7906.
Okay, sir. Okay, hold for 1 second.
She does not appear to be breathing, though. I do not see any chest going up and down, or even the back.
Okay, did you ever hear her talk or cry?
I did not.
Okay, hold for 1 second.
Oh, Jesus.
Hold for 1 second, sir.
Okay.
And can you direct the emergency crew to her?
Yeah.
Okay. I'm sending the paramedics to help you now. Stay on the line and I'll tell you exactly what to do next.
Oh, my gosh. I see blood around her upper body and arms.
Okay, sir. Reassure her. Okay. Hold for 1 second. Is she breathing, sir?
No. Not that I can tell.
Hold for 1 second.
Lord, this is somebody's baby.
Okay, and please tell me, why does she look dead?
She is face down. Her face, her nostrils and mouth are directly into the ground.
Okay.
I don't believe she'll be able to receive oxygen.
During a press conference on the same day, a police spokesman confirmed the worst fears of Mariam's family and friends.
Deputy Chief Charles Hampton Jr., Hampton, Division Commander for Criminal Investigation. When we got to that scene, we were able to locate an individual, a female, mid-20s, deceased on scene. And what we now believe that is the same female that was kidnapped from the 501 Burr Street. We are been in constant contact with the victim's family, and as you can imagine, this is extremely difficult for them, and so we absolutely have to send our condolences to them.
Unfortunately, Mariam had no chance to survive. The perpetrator fired several fatal shots at her. They found Mariam's body next to an abandoned house, just 1.5 miles from her home. During the same time, the police officers were chasing at high speed. The driver violated traffic rules and did not respond to the officers' demand to stop. The chase was over after the driver rammed another car. An ambulance took him and 2 passengers from the second car to the hospital. The driver, who was trying to escape from the police, was arrested after receiving medical attention. Investigators believed he was responsible for the abduction and death of Mariam Abdulrab. Mariam had her whole life ahead of her, but now her family and friends had to mourn her. In the wake of Mariam's death, friends, co-workers, and family members have spoken out, describing her as a kind-hearted person. "My daughter was the most peaceful and loving person. She did not deserve this," said her father, Khalid Abdulrab. Reverie VR Bar also took to Instagram to mourn the death of its employee. Sharing a photo of Mariam, the post said, "Our hearts are truly broken at the loss of a dear friend and family member. Mariam brought light to every single person she came in contact with and will forever be missed. We will be closed this weekend to grieve and savor our last moments with her. Please stay safe, y'all." Bar manager Dylan Knight said, "Everyone looked forward to seeing Mariam at work on both sides of the bar. She had a huge heart and would go well out of her way to help out or provide for folks." The man police believed to be responsible for the abduction and death of Mariam Abdulrab was 27-year-old DeMarcus Brinkley. After 4 days at Wellstar Atlanta Medical Center, they booked Brinkley into the Fulton County Jail on 6 counts, including deprivation of life. According to the state Supreme Court ruling, as he fled from police, Brinkley allegedly told his mother that he did not want to pull over for police because he did not want to go back to prison. Brinkley had previously spent 7 years in prison. They released him less than a year before Mariam's death. In 2014, he pleaded guilty to 1 count of child molestation and received a 7-year prison sentence. According to court records, the police arrested Brinkley on suspicion of molesting a 7-year-old girl in 2012. In 2013, they found him on top of a naked 6-year-old girl. In 2015, he pleaded guilty to child molestation. During one of the court sessions, Brinkley's defense attorney told the judge that his client was one of 12 children. According to court records, he was removed from his mother's care by the Georgia Division of Family and Children's Services when he was a teenager and placed into a residential treatment program for children with severe emotional and behavioral issues. He stopped going to school in the 9th grade. The defense attorney added that Brinkley also had a history of being abused by a stepfather. The state recommended Brinkley serve 15 years in prison, followed by 15 years on probation. Yet the court sentenced Brinkley to only 15 years, 7 behind bars and 8 on probation. He also had to register as a sex offender. That's when offenders are assigned levels 1, 2, or 3, depending on their risk level for reoffense. Level 1 means a low risk for reoffense. Level 2 is a moderate risk for reoffense. Level 3, or sexually dangerous predator, is a high risk for reoffense. While some states level sex offenders on the day of their sentencing, Georgia levels sex offenders after their release from prison. Thus, after his release from prison in 2020, Brinkley was supposed to register as a sex offender, but he never received a risk level assessment. That's why Ali Abdulrab, Mariam's brother, believed there were ways to avoid what happened to his sister. "What happened to my sister was preventable," Ali said. "It broke my family. She was just a ball of joy, and she always had a way of making anybody feel special. She was finally growing into the woman she wanted to be, and everyone around her saw that she was getting ready to live the life she wanted to live," Ali Abdulrab said. "It still doesn't seem real. It's still not easy to talk about." From judges in the court system to mental health counselors, Brinkley has encountered many state officials throughout his life. Ali Abdulrab believes his sister would still be alive today if any of them handled his prior convictions differently. Mariam's family has been pushing for changes to state laws to prevent similar crimes in the future. In May 2023, while DeMarcus Brinkley was still awaiting trial, the governor of Georgia, Brian Kemp, signed into law a series of expanded restrictions for convicted sex offenders. House Bill 188, known as Mariam's Law, created better ways to track these individuals. The law requires sex offenders who have not received a risk level assessment to wear an ankle monitor. Once they receive their assessment, the most dangerous offenders must wear the monitor for the entire probation period. At the same time, lower-level offenders could have them removed if approved by the State Department of Community Supervision. "Love always wins," said her brother Ali Abdulrab. "The love Mariam left behind was a huge part of getting this law into place. It'll be a big part of preventing future crimes like Mariam's from happening. I see it saving lives." "There might be more DeMarcus Brinkleys out there," Ali said. "We don't want this to happen to anybody else." We immediately thought, why is this guy out walking around freely in the first place? And we hear he has a job working security. "It's insane," Ali said. "It kind of hurt even more knowing this guy slipped through the cracks in our system." DeMarcus Brinkley made a deal, pleading guilty to several charges during the trial in November 2023. On December 5, 2023, the court sentenced him to life imprisonment, with the possibility of parole after 30 years, plus another 15 years. Mariam's family was not satisfied with the verdict, which is, of course, unsurprising. A criminal with a long track record once again has a chance of leaving the prison walls someday. In a text message to Channel 2's Michael Seiden, Mariam's brother, Ali Abdulrab, addressed the plea deal between prosecutors and his sister's killer. "We weren't exactly happy about the results from the sentencing. After all this time of waiting for a trial, DeMarcus Brinkley decided to plead guilty for a sliver of hope that he may be granted parole one day after his life sentencing is served, 30 years plus 15. After hearing the details of everything he's done in court, they still let him have the one thing that would keep his time in prison a little more bearable. It's easy to blame the criminal in these scenarios, but the whole reason why my sister was murdered in the first place was because a judge in court didn't take the recommendation from the prosecution for his previous charges of sexually assaulting 2 children. The ruling in this recent case is all too familiar and seems like another story where the judge is only there to make everyone happy. More so, the criminal defense attorneys, who I'm sure are taking this home as a win. I understand that their duty is to promote fairness and justice for their clients, but at what cost? The criminal justice system, as I know it, is this perpetual cycle of unfairness and reconsideration, especially for the potential victims and the ones who suffer. Our family feels it is not fair for the children that this monster has hurt. Not fair for my sister, who had her whole life stolen from her. Mariam Abdulrab is more than just a number in a world of crime. She is a real person who had real family and friends that loved her so very much. The defendant will spend the rest of his life in prison and out of our community, where he has shown himself to be a grave danger to the public, District Attorney Fani Willis said in a statement. While nothing we do can restore Mariam's life that was so tragically stolen from her, her family and her friends, we hope the fact that her killer will spend the rest of this life paying for her murder brings some measure of solace.
Hey everyone, welcome back to the Checkered Sky channel, where we dive into true crime stories. Today we're diving into a chilling case that shook a small town in Brazil to its core. This is a story of trust betrayed, a life cut short, and a mystery that unraveled in the most heartbreaking way. It's September 24th, 2019, in Bariri, a quiet town in São Paulo state, Brazil. Mariana Bazza, a 19-year-old physiotherapy student, is starting her day like any other. That morning, she heads to her usual spot, a local gym. It's around 8 a.m. and the gym is buzzing with early risers. Mariana finishes her workout, chats with a friend, and steps outside to her black Volkswagen parked on the street. She's got no idea that this ordinary moment is about to spiral into a true crime nightmare. As Mariana approaches her car, she notices something's off. The rear tire is flat, completely deflated. It's the kind of inconvenience that'd annoy anyone, right? She's standing there, probably thinking about calling her dad or a cousin for help. Maybe she's wondering how she's going to get to class on time. But then,
Out of nowhere, a man approaches her. He's calm, friendly, offering to fix the tire. To Mariana, he seems like a good Samaritan, just a guy willing to help a stranger out. She hesitates. Her friend, who's with her, later says Mariana wasn't sure about it. But the man insists, saying driving on a flat could wreck the wheel. It's a convincing pitch, and Mariana, trusting and pressed for time, agrees. Here's where the story takes a dark turn. Her friend, running late, leaves the scene, unaware that she's just seen Mariana for the last time. Hours pass, and Mariana doesn't show up to class. Her phone goes silent, no texts, no calls, no signal. Her boyfriend, worried, tries reaching her. Nothing. Her family starts to panic and goes to the police. But before we dive deeper into this crime investigation, let's take a moment to honor the person at the heart of this story, Mariana Bazza. Who was she? Mariana was 19 years old, a physiotherapy student at a private university in Bauru, a city not far from her hometown of Bariri. Born in 2000, she was the only child of Ayrton Bazza and Marlene Forti Bazza, a couple deeply devoted to their daughter. Her family described her as a bright, compassionate soul, someone who always had a smile and a kind word. Her passion for physiotherapy was more than a career choice. It was a reflection of her compassionate nature. She wanted to help people heal, to ease their pain, and her parents beamed with pride at her dedication. At university, she was a dedicated student, balancing her studies with an active social life. She was the kind of person who made friends easily, whether it was at school or the gym where she worked out regularly. Now, let's talk about her relationship with Jefferson Viana, her boyfriend of 3 years. Jefferson was 22 years old at the time and serving in the Brazilian Navy in São Paulo. The two had met in their late teens, and their bond was strong, built on mutual respect and shared dreams. They were the kind of couple who sent each other silly texts and shared life's big moments. Jefferson later told police that Mariana was his everything. On the morning of her disappearance, they were texting as usual. Mariana and Jefferson's relationship was steady, but like any young couple, they had their challenges. Being apart due to his Navy duties meant they relied on calls and texts to stay close. Still, there was no sign of trouble between them. They were happy and planning a future together. September 24, 2019, started like any other Tuesday in Bariri. It's around 7 a.m., and the sun's just creeping over the horizon in Bariri. Mariana Bazza is already up and moving. She's at the gym with her friend Heloisa Passarello, getting in an early workout before her day really kicks off. The gym's a familiar spot for her, a place to clear her head, stay fit, maybe chat with friends. By 8 a.m., they're wrapping up. At 8:11 a.m., Mariana steps out of the gym's doors, her friend trailing a few steps behind. The street outside is calm, lined with modest houses and a few parked cars. Mariana's carrying her phone, probably scrolling through notifications or thinking about her day. Classes, assignments, maybe a quick text to Jefferson. She's got a full schedule, and she's not one to dawdle. As she nears her car, the cameras catch her slowing down, her head tilting slightly. Something's wrong. At 8:12 a.m., Mariana stops by the front passenger side door of her Volkswagen. The tire is completely flat, deflated to the point of being undrivable. You can picture her reaction. Maybe a sigh, a quick glance at her watch. A flat tire is a hassle, especially on a day when she's got places to be. Her friend, still near the gym entrance, notices Mariana's pause and later tells investigators that Mariana seemed more annoyed than worried. Cameras capture her pulling out her phone, likely considering who to call: her dad, who's always been her go-to for car troubles, or her cousin, who lives nearby. But she doesn't make the call, at least not yet. The street isn't empty. The footage shows a man walking across the street, moving from the opposite sidewalk toward Mariana's car. He's dressed in everyday clothes, jeans, a plain shirt, blending seamlessly into the town's rhythm. The cameras don't catch his face clearly. The angle is too far. the resolution too grainy. He approaches Mariana directly, his gestures calm but purposeful. He's got a friendly vibe, offers to help with the tire. Mariana's not naive. She hesitates. She's thinking maybe she'll just drive it to her dad's place or call someone she knows. But this guy's persistent. He tells her driving on a flat could mess up the wheel, makes it sound like he's doing her a favor. It's 8:15 a.m. Heloisa's got to get to work, so she hops on her motorcycle and heads out. The exchange continues for a few minutes. She's listening, weighing her options. The CCTV cameras capture him talking to Mariana, his gestures more animated now. By 8:28, something shifts. Cameras outside the gym catch it all. The guy points across the street to a small chakra, a rural property with a house and some land. He's convincing her to follow him there, says he can fix the tire properly. She's still in control, still cautious, but she agrees. At 8:29, she drives her Volkswagen across the street into the chakra's yard. The gate closes behind her, and the car vanishes from the camera's view. That's the last time anyone sees Mariana alive in public. The house's yard, shielded by walls and the closed gate, is a blind spot, out of reach of the gym's cameras and any nearby surveillance. The street returns to its morning routine, oblivious to the danger unfolding just out of sight. But before she disappeared, Mariana took a picture of a guy kneeling by her car. She sent it to her boyfriend Jefferson. The exchange was light, typical of their 3-year relationship. Mariana wasn't scared when she sent the photo. She laughed about the situation, and Jefferson didn't sense any danger. But by noon, when Jefferson tries texting her again, there's no reply. Her phone, usually buzzing with updates, is silent. He calls, but it goes straight to voicemail. The phone didn't have a signal, he later recalled, a detail that gnawed at him. Jefferson's worry deepens as the hours pass. Mariana was supposed to be in Bauru for her physiotherapy classes, a 30-mile drive from Bariri. She never missed a class without telling someone. By 2 p.m., he's calling her friends, asking if anyone's heard from her. No one has. He reaches out to her family, her parents, Ayrton and Marlene, and her aunts and cousins, who are tight-knit and always in contact. They're equally alarmed. Mariana didn't answer her phone after that. "We were immediately desperate with worry," one of Mariana's aunts told the press, capturing the family's rising panic. Ayrton, Mariana's father, tries calling her repeatedly, but the phone remains off. By 3 p.m., the family knows something's terribly wrong. They contact the Bariri police, reporting Mariana missing and urging them to act fast. The Bariri police springs into action by filing a missing persons case. Their first move is to gather information from Mariana's inner circle. They interview Jefferson, who shares the photo and texts from that morning. The image, time-stamped around 8:30 a.m., shows a man crouched by Mariana's Volkswagen, working on the tire. His face is partially visible, but the angle does not allow for immediate identification. Jefferson tells the police the exchange was casual. Mariana wasn't afraid, and the man seemed like a helpful stranger. "She just sent it to tell me what had happened. We laughed at the situation, and I sent her a picture of me in my uniform whites because I knew she liked it. I also told her that I loved her," he said. The police note the photo as a critical lead, but they need more context. They ask Jefferson about Mariana's life. Did she have enemies? Any recent conflicts? He's adamant. She was well-liked, had no trouble with anyone, and their relationship was solid. His alibi checks out. He was in São Paulo, hours away, verified by his naval duties. Next, the police turn to Mariana's friend, who was with her at the gym that morning. She confirms the timeline. Mariana finished her workout around 8 a.m. They chatted, and they stepped outside together. She saw Mariana notice the flat tire and watched as a man approached, offering to help. The friend didn't recognize him, but he seemed friendly, not threatening. She recalls Mariana hesitating, but ultimately agreeing to let him fix the tire, especially after he warned that driving on it could ruin the wheel. The friend left shortly after, around 8:15 a.m., assuming Mariana was fine. She's racked with guilt when she speaks to the police, wishing she'd stayed longer. Her description of the man is vague: average height, casual clothes, but it matches the figure in Jefferson's photo. The police press her. Did she see anyone else lingering nearby? Anything suspicious? She mentions a few gym-goers and passers-by, but nothing unusual. The street was busy with morning traffic, making it hard to pinpoint anything out of the ordinary. The police pull the gym's CCTV footage, and there it is: Mariana driving into that chakra at 8:29. They head to the chakra across from the gym. It's owned by a local who'd hired a handyman to paint the place, a guy named Rodrigo Pereira Alves. The owner's there, says Rodrigo was around that morning, but he's gone now. The cops look around. Nothing obvious jumps out. No car, no Mariana. But they're not leaving empty-handed. On another surveillance tape, they saw Mariana's Volkswagen drive off an hour later. They saw the driver get out of the car for a short time, and it was clear from the color of his clothes that the car was not driven by Mariana. The photo Mariana sent Jefferson becomes the linchpin. The police don't name him publicly yet, but they start digging into his background. We are following all leads, especially the individuals seen in the footage, a police spokesperson told local media, keeping details vague to avoid tipping off the suspect. They learn the man has a history, including time served for serious crimes, which raises red flags. Could he have targeted Mariana deliberately? The flat tire's condition, possibly slashed, suggests premeditation, not a random act. The police set up discreet surveillance on the house, hoping to spot the man from the photo. They also track Mariana's phone, which last pinged near the gym before going offline, suggesting it was turned off or destroyed shortly after 8:36 a.m. Police know her Volkswagen has been moved, so they put out an alert to nearby towns, describing the car and the man from the photo, now their prime suspect. The car's headed west toward Itapolis, about 40 miles away. That's when they call in reinforcements, a helicopter, more officers, a full-on search. Words spreading fast. By 5 p.m., Bariri's buzzing. People are talking, texting, piecing it together. They're tracking the car, following leads from that photo. They already had a name: Rodrigo Pereira Alves, a guy with a long criminal history. Rodrigo is a repeat offender who had already served 12 years for robbery, kidnapping, extortion, and attempted robbery, and had been released from prison about 30 days before Mariana's kidnapping. The photo Mariana sent? It's him. The CCTV. Him again. Evening falls. 7 p.m., 8 p.m., and the search is relentless. They've got choppers in the air, patrols on the ground. Around 9 p.m., they find the Volkswagen abandoned in Itapolis, near a sugarcane farm. The car is cordoned off, and forensic teams swarm in. They find the doors unlocked, the keys missing, and the interior in disarray. A search reveals critical evidence. Marks inside the car suggest a struggle, with scratches on the dashboard and a torn seatbelt. They also recovered a knife from under the seat, but this is not thought to have been used in the crime. No blood, but enough to know something went down. After locating the car, police redoubled their efforts to find the suspect. Alves grew up in a troubled home, dropping out of school early and drifting into crime by his teens. Described as a loner, he worked odd jobs, construction, mechanics, but never held steady employment. His recent release from prison made him a ghost in the community. Few knew he was back. Investigators traced the suspect's cell phone and found that he was hiding at his relative's home. Officers swarm the area, and Rodrigo Alves, realizing he's cornered, flees to the roof of a nearby house. He tried to escape, but we had him surrounded, a police officer later said. After a tense standoff, Rodrigo Alves is arrested, his clothes disheveled, his face gaunt. He initially resisted, claiming he was innocent, but the photo, surveillance video, and tire tracks tie him to the crime. After all, he tells where the police can find Mariana. The search for Mariana leads back to the sugarcane plantation where her car was found. Around midday, a grim discovery stops them cold. Mariana's body, hidden among the dense stalks, about a mile from her car. She's gagged, blindfolded, and her hands are bound behind her back. The scene is devastating. The autopsy, conducted in Bauru, reveals the horrific details of Mariana's final moments. The cause of death is strangulation. Mariana's injuries are extensive: bruises on her arms and legs, scratches on her face, and broken fingernails, indicating she fought fiercely against her attacker. The autopsy is also looking into possible sexual assault, but the results are not yet conclusive and require additional tests. No stab wounds or gunshot injuries are found, ruling out the knife from the car. The coroner estimates she died within hours of her disappearance, likely between 8 a.m. and noon on September 24th. The bindings and gags suggest she was restrained before death, pointing to a deliberate, brutal act. Rodrigo Alves was charged with kidnapping, rape, robbery, and murder, and prosecutors built a case on physical evidence and his criminal history. This was a calculated act by a dangerous individual, a prosecutor told local media. The prosecution argues he used the pretense of help to gain Mariana's trust, then overpowered her in the house's yard. The cops see the pattern: impulsive, predatory, no stranger to taking what he wants. But what's he doing in Bariri, painting a chakra? Turns out, he'd landed the gig through a friend, a fresh start, or so he claimed. He admits he lured her to the chakra, says it was a spur-of-the-moment thing. He claims he asked her for a ride after fixing the tire, got her inside the property, then panicked when she tried to leave. It's cold, calculated, and the cops aren't buying the panic excuse. It's early 2021, over a year since Mariana Bazza's murder on September 24, 2019. The trial of Rodrigo Pereira Alves begins in Bauru, the judicial hub near Bariri. The courtroom is packed: family, friends, locals, and media, all eyes on Rodrigo Alves, now 39, sitting stone-faced in the dock. The prosecution, led by seasoned attorneys, is determined to paint Rodrigo as a calculated predator. They present the CCTV footage from the gym. The photo Mariana sent her boyfriend, Jefferson, is displayed on a courtroom screen. The prosecution emphasizes the tire, likely slashed, as proof of premeditation. This was no random act, the lead prosecutor argues. Rodrigo Alves targeted Mariana, manipulated her trust, and executed a plan to abduct and kill her. They highlight his criminal history: 12 years in prison for kidnapping and attempted murder, released just weeks before the crime. The autopsy report seals their case, detailing Mariana's strangulation, bruises, and defensive wounds, painting a picture of a violent struggle. Mariana was strangled, likely with her own shirt, after a fight. The defense, tasked with an uphill battle, counters with a strategy of deflection and minimization. They challenge the forensic findings, noting the absence of blood or DNA conclusively proving rape, and suggest the knife found in the car could belong to anyone. Mariana's family, Ayrton, Marlene, and their extended relatives, attend every session, their grief palpable. The prosecution calls them as witnesses to humanize Mariana, emphasizing her bright future and the void left by her death. "She was our everything, always smiling, always helping others," said Marlene, Mariana's mother. Jefferson also testifies, recounting their final texts and the photo that haunts him. "I'll never forgive myself for not seeing the danger," he says, tears in his eyes. The prosecution uses his testimony to underscore Alves' deception, how he exploited Mariana's trust, a theme that angers the jury. Prosecutors showed another surveillance tape that showed the defendant leaning against Mariana's car before she even left the gym. He deliberately gave her car a flat tire to lure her into a death trap. Rodrigo's team doesn't deny he was there, too much evidence for that. Instead, they lean on his story. They push his mental state. 12 years in prison left him unstable, impulsive, not a cold-blooded planner. They're not denying the act, just the intent, trying to dodge the femicide label for something less severe, like manslaughter. It's a long shot, but they're fighting to shave years off his sentence. In March 2021, the verdict was announced. He was sentenced to 40 years, 10 months, and 18 days in prison. Don't rush to turn this video off, because there's something else important in this story, something that might surprise you. Mariana's mom died in February 2022 at the age of 51. Marlene had been a fierce advocate for Mariana, keeping her daughter's room untouched and sharing her grief openly. In a 2020 post, she wrote, "A mother's heart will always cry for you, my angel." On September 23, 2024, just one day before the 5th anniversary of Mariana Bazza's murder, Rodrigo Pereira Alves died of illness in the intensive care unit of Botucatu Hospital. He was suffering from a chronic illness, although the exact cause of death was not given by the prison administration or the hospital. That's the end of Mariana's story. Thank you for joining me on this journey through one of Brazil's most heartbreaking cases. Until next time, stay safe, stay curious, and keep seeking the truth under the checkered sky. Today we're diving into a case that shook a small Oregon city to its core. A story so chilling, it stayed with me for years. Picture this. It's Tuesday, October 16th, 2012, in Gresham, Oregon. The air's crisp, the leaves are turning gold, and the day's just beginning. At 6:45 a.m., a 21-year-old young woman named Whitney Heichel steps out of her apartment. She's got her keys in hand, her black 1999 Ford Explorer waiting nearby. She's headed to her job at Starbucks, just a 5-minute drive away. Whitney's a barista, reliable, punctual, the kind of person who never misses a shift. She kisses her husband goodbye, and that's it. That's the last time he sees her alive. That's where the true crime mystery begins. Whitney never makes it to work. Her co-workers wait, glancing at the clock. 7 a.m. comes and goes. No Whitney. By 9:30, her phone's going straight to voicemail. Her husband, Clint, starts to panic. He calls her over and over. Nothing. Finally, at 10 a.m., he dials 911. Something's wrong. Really wrong. This isn't like her. Whitney's not the type to just disappear. She's got a life, friends, family, a husband she's been married to for less than 2 years. So what happened in those missing hours? Where did she go? And why did this ordinary morning turn into a nightmare?
It's always something you see, and it's always distant. And so I'm still processing it. I didn't even know what to think about it. I just hope she's okay. We're doing the best we can to locate her. I hope nothing has happened to her.
The search continues for a missing Gresham woman, and sheriff's deputies are calling her disappearance suspicious. Whitney Heichel disappeared yesterday. She left her apartment on Highway.
Whitney Heichel was born in 1991 in Portland, Oregon, just a stone's throw from where this all unfolded. She grew up in a tight-knit family, the kind where faith and community were everything. Her parents, Jim and Lori, raised her as a Jehovah's Witness, and that faith shaped her world. She wasn't loud or flashy. Whitney was quiet, steady, the kind of person who listened more than she spoke. Friends described her as gentle, always ready with a smile. She wasn't chasing fame or drama. She was building a simple, honest life. In 2011, Whitney married Clint Heichel, who had known her for many years. They were young, barely into their 20s, but their bond was solid. They'd settled into a modest apartment in Gresham, dreaming of a future together. No kids yet, but they had time, or so they thought. Whitney worked at Starbucks, not just for the paycheck, but because she liked it. the routine, the people. She'd been there for years, pouring coffee, chatting with regulars, saving up for whatever came next. Her life was ordinary in the best way, stable, grounded, full of small joys. Whitney's world revolved around family and faith. She was close to her mom and dad. She didn't have a long list of enemies or a trail of secrets. If anything, Whitney was the opposite. She was open, trusting, maybe too much so. On Tuesday, October 16, 2012, the sun was barely up in Gresham, Oregon, when Whitney Heichel stepped out of her apartment. It was a day like any other, or so it seemed. What unfolded over the next few hours would turn a routine morning into the opening act of a true crime saga that still haunts this small city. It's 6:45 a.m. Whitney's husband, Clint, watches her leave. She's dressed for work, Starbucks apron ready, keys jingling. She climbs into her SUV, a 1999 Ford Explorer she's driven 100 times before. The route to Starbucks is short, just a couple of miles through Gresham's sleepy streets. She's due at 7 a.m., same as always. Clint heads back inside, figuring he'll see her later. He has no idea this is the last time he'll see her wave goodbye. 7 o'clock rolls around, and Whitney's co-workers are setting up, steaming milk, brewing coffee. But Whitney's not there. She's never late. Not once. The minutes creep by. 7:15, 7:30. Her shift lead checks the schedule, then the phone. No call, no text. By 8 a.m., they're worried. This isn't like her. She's the reliable one, the barista, who's always on time. Someone tries her cell, straight to voicemail. They don't know it yet, but Whitney's morning has already taken a turn they can't imagine. Fast forward to 9:14 a.m. 9 miles east of Gresham in Troutdale, a gas station camera catches something. Whitney's Ford Explorer rolls up, but Whitney's not driving. She's in the passenger seat, her face visible through the window. A man's at the wheel, dark hair, average build. He pumps gas, pays with Whitney's bank card. 9 minutes later, at 9:23 a.m., that same card gets used again at an ATM nearby. 2 transactions, 8 minutes apart. Whoever's with her isn't wasting time. But where are they going? And why is Whitney just sitting there? Clint begins to sense something is wrong. It's past 9:30 a.m. now. He's been calling Whitney's phone for over an hour. Nothing. Voicemail every time. She hasn't texted, hasn't checked in. By 10 a.m., he's had enough. He dials 911. "My wife's missing," he tells the operator, voice tight. "She left for work at 6:45 and never got there." He gives them everything: the car, the route, her phone number. The call's short, urgent. Gresham police log it at 10:02 a.m. and spring into action. Officers fan out, checking Whitney's route. Her co-workers confirm she didn't show. Clint's call sets the wheels turning, but the real break comes around 1 p.m. That's when her SUV turns up, abandoned in a Walmart parking lot in Wood Village, just a few miles from Gresham. The passenger windows shattered, glass scattered on the asphalt. The back seats are folded down, and there's mud caked on the tires, fresh and wet. It's not how Whitney left it. Someone's been driving it, and they didn't care about keeping it clean. Around the same time, another clue surfaces. Up on Larch Mountain, a rugged wooded area 20 miles east of Gresham, a hiker spots something odd. A child's sippy cup, bright pink, lying off a trail. It's out of place, too clean to have been there long. No one knows it yet, but that cup belongs to Whitney's niece. It's a thread in this unraveling mystery, a breadcrumb leading somewhere dark. The hiker leaves it, unaware of its weight. By afternoon, word's spreading. Whitney's family, her parents, Jim and Lori, her sister Chelsea, get the call from Clint. They're stunned. She was fine yesterday, laughing with them, planning her week. Now she's gone. Her church steps up too. Jehovah's Witnesses from the local Kingdom Hall start printing flyers, hundreds of them. Missing, Whitney Heichel, 21, last seen October 16th. They hit the streets, taping them to poles, handing them out at gas stations. The community rallies, but there's a growing dread. The clock's ticking past 3 p.m., and Whitney's still out there, somewhere. Gresham PD didn't waste time. They pulled in 24 detectives from multiple agencies: Multnomah County, Troutdale, Fairview, even Oregon State Police. The state crime lab was on standby, and forensic teams were already en route to that Walmart lot. Chief Craig Junginger took the helm, calling it a criminal investigation from the jump. This wasn't a runaway case. The broken window, the gas station sighting, the ATM hits, something was off, and they needed to move fast. But it wasn't just the cops. Whitney's church, the Jehovah's Witnesses, turned out in force, hundreds of them. Friends, family, neighbors, they all hit the streets, canvassing, searching, asking questions. By noon, they'd found the SUV in Wood Village, just 4 miles from Whitney's apartment. That discovery lit a fire under the police. Detectives swarmed the lot, bagging glass shards, dusting for prints. They found some of Whitney's belongings in a nearby dumpster. Small stuff, personal items. The gas station footage was the first big break. At 9:14 a.m., Whitney's Ford Explorer pulls in. She's in the passenger seat, alive, but not in control. 9 minutes later, Whitney's bank card pings again at an ATM. 2 hits, 9 minutes apart. Whoever's with her knows her PIN, knows her car. Police start thinking, is this someone she knows? They pull the tapes, enhance the images, but the man's face isn't clear. So they go back to the source, Whitney's life. Detectives knock on doors at her apartment complex, talk to neighbors. Most say the same thing. Whitney was quiet, sweet, no trouble. No one saw her leave that morning, but a few mention a guy who lives nearby, someone familiar, part of the community. Nothing concrete, just a name floating around. They hit up her coworkers at Starbucks next. She was always on time, they say. Never missed a shift. No enemies, no weird customers. Friends echo it. Whitney didn't stir drama. Her family, Jim, Lori, Chelsea, tell police she was happy, stable. Clint's a wreck, but he's cooperative, answering every question. By Wednesday, October 17th, the trail's heating up. Police expand the search. Dodge Park, Sandy, Larch Mountain. They've got a hunch the SUV went east, based on that mud and a tip from a volunteer. K-9s sweep the apartment complex, about a mile from the gas station, 2 from the Walmart. Nothing big turns up there, but up on Larch Mountain, things shift. That sippy cup, pink, new, tied to Whitney's niece, gets flagged. Then a search team, a mix of cops and church volunteers, finds tire tracks, broken glass, and a license plate. It's from Whitney's Explorer. The mountain's remote, forested, a 40-minute drive from Gresham. Why here? Police rope it off, call in search and rescue, Oregon State Forensics. Thursday, October 18th, brings another twist. Kids playing near a complex in Troutdale, a mile and a half from a gas station, accidentally found a cell phone. It's Whitney's. Parents of one of the children told ABC that the children found Whitney's phone in bushes outside the Troutdale Terrace apartments Thursday evening. The family says the phone had a screensaver of a picture of Whitney Heichel and text messages asking if she was okay. Police log it as evidence, but it's not just a find. It's a link. The phone's between the gas station and Walmart, tightening the net. Hours before the phone discovery, Whitney's mother, Lorelei Rittmiller, urged people in the Portland area to keep looking for her daughter, who she described as the sunshine in her heart.
She just took care of everybody. And I just want you guys to know how grateful we are for any help. It hurts to breathe right now.
Whitney's husband, Clinton, only managed to utter a few words as he attempted to make a statement, but broke down and left the podium.
What do I say?
That same day, someone steps forward. Jonathan Holt, 24, a neighbor from Whitney's complex. He's casual, volunteers for an interview, says he's shaken up, wants to help. Holt's married, lives a few doors down, goes to the same Jehovah's Witness congregation. He tells police a story. Tuesday morning, he was headed to work at a vending company in Portland when two black men robbed him at gunpoint. He didn't report it, just walked around crying all day. Detectives listen, nod, but something's off. His timeline's shaky, his details vague. Near the end of the conversation, Jonathan Holt told them that it was just bad timing, that all of this happened at the same time as what was going on with Whitney Heichel. They ask for Prince's DNA. He agrees, no pushback. They let him go, but they're watching.
Good morning, Dan. That's right. This is what Whitney Heichel's family and the entire community had feared most. And police say the man who murdered Whitney was not a stranger. He lived in her apartment complex.
Friday, October 19th, the pieces snap together. Holt stops at his workplace in North Portland, tosses a handgun in some bushes. Later, outside Gresham PD, he ditches another gun in the grass, right before walking in for a second interview. Bold move, sloppy move. Detectives pounce. They've got forensic results back from the SUV. Holt's prints, his DNA on the steering wheel. His first story unravels. In the interview room, he cracks. Admits the robbery tale was a lie. Then it spills out. He waited for Whitney that morning, asked for a ride. They lived in the same apartment complex. About 5 minutes later, Holt allegedly took Whitney Heichel by gunpoint in her vehicle to an area near a lake and forced her to perform oral sex on him, according to the police report. While Holt's talking, searchers are closing in. That night, around 10 p.m., they find her, Whitney's body, hidden in a remote spot on Larch Mountain. It's a wooded area, off a trail, east of Gresham. She's been shot 4 times, the autopsy later confirms. The scene's grim, quiet. They've got her, but it's no victory. The sippy cup, the license plate, the tire tracks, it all led here. By Friday night, Holt was charged with aggravated murder. The how's clear. The why? That's still a shadow. Who is this guy, really? What drove him to this? Holt's prints and DNA were all over Whitney's SUV, on the steering wheel, the door, the gear shift. He admitted it. He took her to Roslyn Lake, then Larch Mountain, and left her there. The confession was cold, matter of fact, and it gave police what they needed. On October 23rd, Holt appeared in court. Prosecutors hit him with a 19-count indictment: aggravated murder, kidnapping, robbery, first-degree sexual abuse, and more. Why so many counts? Because this wasn't just one act. It was a chain of calculated steps, each one uglier than the last. So who was Jonathan Holt? Born in 1988, he was a local, raised in Gresham. He wasn't a drifter or a stranger. He was a neighbor, living a few doors down in the same apartment complex. Married, no kids, working a steady job at a vending machine company in Portland. He and Whitney went to the same Jehovah's Witness congregation, saw each other at meetings, shared a faith. On paper, he was ordinary, quiet, unremarkable, the kind of guy who blends into a crowd. But there were cracks. Co-workers later said he could be off, not violent, just odd, detached. No criminal record, no red flags waving. Yet something simmered under that surface, something no one saw until it was too late. The motive? That's the shadow that lingers. Holt never explained why. No grudge, no feud, no history of bad blood. Just a moment, a choice, and a life snuffed out. Holt's family kept their distance. His wife, stunned, moved out fast. Didn't talk to the press, didn't defend him. Holt sat in jail, awaiting trial, while the Heichels buried their daughter. Heichel's family greeted all of those who stopped by and thanked them for their support during such a difficult time. The family said they wanted to hold a public memorial so the community would have a chance to grieve. Local businesses stepped up to help out by donating food and other things for the event. I know I won't be able to say thank you to every single person, but I'm going to try my best because they deserve a thanks, said Clint Heichel, Whitney's husband. As far as how he is handling everything, it's obviously been tough. I'm trying to take it one day at a time, but it's very hard because we were very much in love, Clint said. It's very hard for me to be at my apartment and have her not doing her little thing. Next, we'll wrap this up. Holt's trial, the sentence, and what Whitney's story leaves behind. It's July 8, 2013, nearly 9 months since Whitney Heichel vanished from Gresham, Oregon. Jonathan Holt, the neighbor who confessed to ending her life, is about to face justice in a Clackamas County courtroom. The question now isn't, did he do it? He'd already admitted that much. It's about what happens next, how the system weighs a crime this heavy, and what it means for a family still reeling from a loss that never should have happened. There wasn't a long, drawn-out trial here. No weeks of back and forth, no parade of witnesses to dissect. So, when July 8th rolled around, Holt and his legal team made a call: no trial. Instead, he'd plead guilty. It was a move that spared Whitney's family the agony of reliving every detail in open court, but it didn't soften the blow of what they'd already lost. The hearing lasted less than an hour, 50 minutes that packed a lifetime of pain. The shaggy-haired Holt, flanked by his 2 defense attorneys, sat with his head bowed through almost all of the 50-minute hearing. He appeared before Judge Robert Herndon, pleading guilty to aggravated murder, first-degree kidnapping, and first-degree robbery. 3 of the 19 counts he'd been charged with, but enough to seal his fate. In court, Holt spoke, short, shaky, staring at the floor. "All the things said about me are true," he said. "Because of my selfishness, I've stolen a daughter, a sister, a wife. I'm sorry for what I did."
I want to say that I'm sorry, but at the same time I know that that doesn't mean anything. I accept full responsibility for what I did, and whatever punishment is given to me because of my selfishness. I have stolen a daughter, a sister, and a wife.
The defense argued this wasn't a man dodging responsibility. He'd owned it, spared everyone a trial. Judge Herndon nodded to that, commending Holt for not dragging it out. But remorse doesn't erase a life taken, and the defense knew the sentence was coming either way. The verdict wasn't a surprise: life without parole. Oregon didn't push for the death penalty. The state was already phasing it out, and Holt's plea deal locked him in for good. Sentenced that day, July 8, 2013, he'd spend every breath behind bars at Oregon State Penitentiary. No appeals, no second chances. For the prosecution, it was a clean win. For Whitney's family, it was something else. Justice, sure, but not peace. Over a dozen of them spoke before the sentence dropped. They didn't want Holt dead. They wanted him gone, out of their world. Life without parole gave them that, but it didn't bring her back. Heichel family members noted that Holt's family, including his ex-wife, who divorced him immediately after his arrest, also suffered. "Both families were forced to face the unthinkable," said Lorelei Rittmiller, Whitney Heichel's mother. "He's 37 now, over a decade into a life term that won't end." That's it for Whitney Heichel's story, a true crime tale that started with a morning drive and ended with a life sentence. It's the kind of case that sticks with you, reminds you how fragile things can be. Drop a comment. What do you think about this case? How does it hit you? Until next time, stay curious, stay safe, and I'll see you under the checkered sky. Today, we're stepping into a twisted tale from Fairfield, California, a quiet city that became the backdrop for a real-life nightmare in October 2021. This is the story of 19-year-old Leilani Beauchamp, whose life was cut short in a way no one saw coming. It all started on October 29, 2021, during Halloween weekend, a time for costumes, parties, and good vibes. Leilani, a college student from Carmel, was out celebrating in Sacramento, about 45 minutes from Fairfield. She was last seen in the early morning hours of October 30th when she left a Halloween party in the company of two guys she knew, both active-duty Air Force personnel. They were headed to a house on Cascade Lane in Fairfield, a place she'd been before. But what happened next? Well, that's where this story takes a dark turn. Her family grew alarmed when she didn't respond to texts or calls throughout the day, which was unusual given her habit of daily communication with her siblings. Leilani's family reported her missing to the Fairfield Police Department on Saturday, October 30th, 2021, around 6 p.m. Hours later, a grim discovery in Monterey County, over 100 miles away, would shatter their world. Something unthinkable had gone down at that house in Fairfield, something that would spark one of the most haunting true crime investigations Northern California has ever seen. Was it a spontaneous act? A planned betrayal? And who was behind it? By the end of this video, we'll piece it all together. How a night of celebration turned into a tragedy that still echoes today. So, if you're ready to dive into this real crime saga, smash that like button and let's get into it. Beyond the headlines, beyond the tragedy, who was the girl at the heart of this true crime case? Let's take a step back and get to know her, because Leilani wasn't just a name in a news report. Leilani Marie Beauchamp was born June 12, 2002, in Long Beach, California. She grew up in El Dorado Hills and then graduated from Carmel Valley High School in Carmel, California. She was the oldest of three siblings, with a younger brother and sister who adored her. Her family described her as a true blessing. Friends and loved ones painted a picture of a vibrant, caring soul, someone who lit up every room she walked into. Her smile, infectious, her laugh, the kind that made you feel like everything was going to be okay. She was 19, a college student chasing her dreams in San Jose, balancing school with a tight-knit family life. Leilani kept in touch with her siblings every day. Texts, calls, little check-ins that showed how much she cared. But here's what gets me. Leilani wasn't just some random face at that Halloween party. She knew people there, trusted them. She'd been to that house on Cascade Lane before. This wasn't a stranger danger story. It's one of connection, maybe too much trust. And that's what makes what happened next so hard to wrap your head around. A night of celebration, a familiar crowd, and yet, it all unraveled. It's Saturday, October 30th, 2021. Leilani's family is on edge. She'd gone out the night before, Halloween weekend, a big party in Sacramento, 45 minutes from Fairfield. By Saturday evening, she's not answering texts or calls. For a girl who checked in with her siblings every single day, that's a red flag. Her family files a missing person report with the Fairfield Police Department that night. They're thinking, okay, maybe she's just caught up in the weekend chaos. But deep down, they're worried. Now, here's where things escalate fast. Sunday, October 31st, Halloween Day. Over 100 miles south of Fairfield, in Monterey County near Salinas, something strange is about to unfold. Picture this: Corral de Tierra Road, a quiet, winding stretch off Highway 68. It's rural, peaceful. Think rolling hills and not much traffic. Around 5:30 p.m., someone spots something off the roadside, down a hillside. It's not a deer, not trash. It's a body, wrapped in a blanket. That's someone? We don't know if it was a passerby, a hiker, or maybe someone tipped off. But what we do know is this: Monterey County Sheriff's deputies swarm the scene. They ID the remains, and it's Leilani Beauchamp. The girl reported missing just hours earlier is now tied to a grim find far from where she was last seen. Details are scarce, but here's what's out there. The Monterey County Sheriff's Office later confirmed they got a tip that Sunday. Police aren't saying who dialed 911, but that call was the spark. It turned a missing person case into something way bigger, spanning 3 counties: Sacramento, Solano, and Monterey. Fairfield PD's already on alert, and now they're teaming up with Monterey County and Travis Air Force Base investigators to figure out what the heck happened. Locals in Salinas were floored. One resident said, "I was blown away. We live in a quiet community. I walk here daily. This is crazy." Another said, 29 years out here, and nothing like this has ever happened. They're shaken, wondering how a body ends up dumped in their backyard. And Leilani's family? They're getting the worst news imaginable. Her mom, Violet, and Grandma Monica are hit with this on Halloween, a day that's supposed to be fun, now forever marked by loss. Imagine that call. "We found her, but she's not coming home." It's every parent's nightmare. Heartbreaking doesn't even cover it. So, how does a 19-year-old go from a Sacramento party to a Fairfield house, then end up on a hillside in Salinas, all in less than 48 hours? That's the question buzzing in everyone's mind. Was she moved right after something went down? Why so far away? And who tipped off the cops? The discovery itself is chilling, but it's just the beginning. The clock's ticking, and police start digging. They've got a last known location. She left the party with 2 Air Force guys from Travis Air Force Base, headed to a house on Cascade Lane in Fairfield. That's their first breadcrumb. Fairfield PD doesn't waste time. They team up with Travis AFB's Office of Special Investigations, OSI for short, because those Air Force ties are screaming for attention. Monterey County Sheriff's Office jumps in too, since that's where Leilani was found. 3 agencies, 3 counties, 1 mission: figure out what happened between that party and that hillside. Sunday night, they're back at Cascade Lane with a search warrant. This isn't a casual drop-by. They're tearing through the place. Roommates are questioned, and one of them, a guy named Damian Ponders, spills some tea. He wasn't home when it went down, but he says Leilani had been there before. She knew one of the airmen, Juan Parra Peralta, a 20-year-old cargo specialist at Travis. As I mentioned earlier, Leilani was last seen leaving the party with 2 guys. One was Parra Peralta, and the other was Damian Ponders. And here's the kicker. Juan was dating someone else, Jessica Quintanilla, a 21-year-old from Pittsburgh. Suddenly, there's a connection forming, a messy web of relationships. Detectives start tracing Leilani's last hours. She leaves the party around 2 a.m. Saturday with Juan Parra Peralta and Damian Ponders. Gets to Cascade Lane by 3 or 4 a.m. Then, silence. No texts, no calls. Meanwhile, they're pulling phone records, pinging cell towers, and guess what? Jessica's phone lights up in Fairfield that morning. Her brother Marco's too. He's 27, from Pittsburgh, and already on parole for a past conviction. Their signals bounce from Fairfield to Monterey County over the next 24 hours. That's no coincidence. It's a trail. Now, let's talk evidence. Sunday night's search at Cascade Lane turns up something big: traces of what went down. Police won't say exactly what, but court docs later reveal they found signs of a struggle and a cleanup attempt. They found traces of blood there. It ties Leilani to this house. Then there's Marco's ankle monitor. Yep, he's wearing one because of that parole. Data shows him moving from Fairfield to Salinas, right where Leilani's body turns up. It's like he's leaving digital footprints for the cops to follow. OSI's grilling Juan and the other airmen too. Juan's story's shaky. He says he was there but clams up about details. The second airman? He's cooperative but not in the spotlight yet. By Monday, November 1st, the pieces are stacking up. Jessica's linked to Juan romantically, mutual friends confirm it, and that roommate Damian backs it up. Marco's her brother, and his movements match the timeline. Juan's at the house where it all started. Detectives hypothesize something snapped at Cascade Lane. Maybe jealousy, maybe a fight. Prosecutors later float a love triangle theory, but we're not there yet. They've got enough to move. Monday night, Fairfield PD swoops into Pittsburgh, 40 miles away, and cuffs Jessica and Marco. Jessica's the prime suspect. Prosecutors say she pulled the trigger. Marco's tagged as her helper, accused of covering tracks. Juan's nabbed too, on base at Travis, suspected of knowing more than he's letting on. Here's where it gets slick. Police don't just stop at arrests, they're building a case. They grab Jessica's phone, Marco's monitor data, and anything they can from Juan's place. Cell records show texts between the siblings Saturday morning, cryptic stuff like, "It's done," or "Meet me." Marco's monitor pings near Corral de Tierra Road Sunday afternoon, hours before that 911 call. Juan's not charged yet, but he's on thin ice. OSI and Fairfield PD are watching him close. The second airman? He's interviewed and released, no cuffs. So, who are these people? Jessica's a young mom with a 2-year-old son living in Pittsburgh, a working-class city east of San Francisco Bay. She's not military, but she's tied to Juan, an active-duty cargo specialist at Travis. Friends say they'd been dating a while, and Jessica was known as fiery, protective, maybe too much. Marco's her older brother, a guy with a rap sheet. Marco was tried and convicted of attempted murder, a violent felony under California law. He was on parole and wore an ankle monitor. Juan? He's the quiet one. Born in Mexico, moved to California as a kid, enlisted in the Air Force at 19. Roommates at Cascade Lane, like Damian Ponders, say he was chill, kept to himself. But these three? They're now the core of this tragedy. The charges hit hard. Jessica's slapped with the heaviest, accused of taking Leilani's life, plus a special allegation for using a firearm. Prosecutors say she's the one who pulled the trigger at Cascade Lane that Saturday morning, October 30th. Marco's charged as an accessory, helping move Leilani's remains to Corral de Tierra Road, 100 miles south, and trying to cover it up. Juan's hit lighter. Accessory after the fact, suspected of knowing what went down and not reporting it. He's released on $25,000 bail Tuesday, November 2nd, back on base under watch, while Jessica and Marco are held without bail in Solano County Jail. Now I want to clarify how Leilani Beauchamp, Juan Peralta, and Jessica Quintanilla ended up in the same place and time, namely this house. While he acknowledged that he had planned a surprise October 9th birthday party for Quintanilla, Peralta said they had separated for a period of time in October, following an argument. Peralta allegedly told Quintanilla that he was going to move to another residence and that she need to pick up her things at the Cascade Lane home that he rented. Leilani Beauchamp was reported missing on October 30th, 2021. She accompanied Peralta to his off-base residence on Cascade Lane in Fairfield. In the early morning hours, Jessica Quintanilla entered the home. She came to get her stuff out of that house, but things got out of hand. According to trial testimony from Peralta, who became a key prosecution witness, Quintanilla confronted him and Leilani in the bedroom where they were lying in bed together. Peralta testified that Quintanilla, enraged upon seeing Leilani Beauchamp, briefly left the room after grabbing a bracelet, only to return within 30 seconds wielding a semi-automatic handgun. Standing just a few feet from the bed, she fired a single shot that struck Beauchamp in the head, killing her instantly. Dr. Arnold Josselson, a Fairfield pathologist who conducted the autopsy, confirmed during the trial that the bullet entered Leilani's head and exited on the right side, consistent with a close-range shot. Following the shooting, Quintanilla allegedly threatened Peralta, saying she would kill him if he didn't assist her. The pair then wrapped Leilani's body in a blanket. Later that morning, Quintanilla drove with Peralta to a Home Depot to purchase a tarp, though testimony did not clarify if it was ultimately used. They then transported the body to a rural area near Corral de Tierra Road in Salinas, Monterey County. where they dumped it approximately 10 yards off the roadside, concealed amid vegetation. Prosecutors alleged that Marco assisted in covering up the crime, including discussions about further concealing evidence. The trial of Jessica and Marco Quintanilla commenced in Solano County Superior Court under Judge William Pendergast, with a jury impaneled in late 2024 following earlier delays. The prosecution, led by Deputy District Attorney Ilana Shapiro, presented a case rooted in a love triangle motive, arguing that Jessica's jealousy over Para Peralta's involvement with Leilani Beauchamp drove her to commit murder. The state charged Jessica with felony murder and Marco with being an accessory after the fact and illegal firearm possession as a felon. The prosecution's case relied heavily on Para Peralta's testimony, corroborated by physical evidence such as the autopsy findings and the recovery of Leilani Beauchamp's body. Shapiro emphasized Jessica's lack of remorse, noting to jurors that she shed no tears for Leilani during the 5-week trial. The state painted a picture of premeditation, arguing that Jessica's decision to retrieve a firearm after leaving the bedroom demonstrated intent, negating defense claims of a spontaneous act. For Marco, the prosecution highlighted his role in aiding his sister, pointing to his presence at the Pittsburgh meeting and prior criminal history as evidence of his willingness to obstruct justice. Jessica's defense attorney, William Allen Welch, sought to undermine Para Peralta's credibility, portraying him as a manipulative figure whose reckless gunplay and lies to investigators might have contributed to the shooting. Welch cross-examined Para Peralta extensively, highlighting inconsistencies in his initial statements to police, such as claiming he hadn't seen Leilani Beauchamp the night before, and suggesting he may have owned the firearm used in the crime. The defense argued that the killing could have been an impulsive act in the heat of passion, urging jurors to consider lesser charges like voluntary manslaughter rather than murder. Welch also depicted the situation as a tragic outcome of a toxic relationship, asserting that Para Peralta's actions provoked Jessica's response. Based on the available information and verified reports related to the Leilani Beauchamp case, Marco Quintanilla's ankle monitor played a critical role in linking him to the crime. Here's what the monitor tracking showed. According to the investigation and court proceedings, Marco's ankle monitor data indicated that he traveled from Fairfield, California, where the murder took place at the house on Cascade Lane, to the Salinas area in Monterey County, where Leilani Beauchamp's body was discovered. Specifically, the tracking showed his presence in Fairfield on the morning of October 30, 2021, shortly after Leilani was last seen alive at the Cascade Lane residence. Over the next 24 hours, the monitor recorded his movements southward, placing him in the vicinity of Corral de Tierra Road near Salinas, approximately 100 miles from Fairfield, on October 31, 2021. This location matches where Leilani's body was found, off a hillside along that rural road, on November 1, 2021. This digital trail corroborated the prosecution's theory that Marco assisted his sister, Jessica Quintanilla, in moving and disposing of Leilani's body after the murder. After closing arguments on November 13, 2024, the jury deliberated and returned a guilty verdict against Jessica Quintanilla for felony murder. 2 days later, on November 15, after the trial concluded, Judge Pendergast sentenced her to 25 years to life in prison. The sentence reflects the jury's rejection of the defense's heat of passion argument, aligning with the prosecution's portrayal of a deliberate act. Marco did not go to a full jury trial like Jessica. Instead, he entered a plea deal. Marco pleaded guilty to the accessory charge. On January 17, 2025, Judge William Pendergast sentenced him to 4 years in state prison. This sentence reflects time served, over 3 years in custody since his arrest, and the terms of his plea agreement, which avoided a longer sentence that a trial conviction might have brought. Juan was not formally charged with murder or any felony by the Solano County District Attorney's Office after his arrest. Instead, he was granted immunity in exchange for his testimony against Jessica and Marco Quintanilla. His testimony included claims that Jessica shot Leilani, threatened him with a gun to force his cooperation, and directed him to dump the body in Salinas. Juan, an active-duty cargo specialist at Travis Air Force Base at the time of the crime, faced separate repercussions from the Air Force. Both he and his roommate, Damian Ponders, another airman who lived at Cascade Lane but was not charged, were discharged from the military under less than honorable conditions following the incident. The discharge reflects the Air Force's response to their association with the case, even if Juan avoided criminal charges. Leilani Beauchamp's murder remains a stark reminder of how personal disputes can escalate to irreversible tragedy. What do you think? Did the system work? Could this have been stopped? Drop your thoughts below. Hit that like button if this hit you like it hit me. Subscribe if you haven't. We've got more stories coming. See you next time.